Hello everybody, Jeff here. Well, for today's project, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconfigure these basement wall outlets a little bit here. Now when I moved in, these were the only outlets in the house that were grounded and wired correctly. Well, supposedly wired correctly. They're on a 20 amp breaker. And this wire here, the wire that goes to this junction box, which goes to the outlets, is 12 gauge wire, but the wiring going to the outlets is 14 gauge wire. And this wire is okay. It's older Romex, probably from the late 70s. My mobile home had the same stuff in it. So I can either rewire these outlets with 12 gauge wire so that they're the correct wire for a 20 amp circuit, which is going to be a lot of work, or I can just downgrade it to 15 amps. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to downgrade it to 15 amp circuit. I'm going to pull this 12 gauge wire out, try to get it out without damaging it too much, and maybe I could use it for something else. And I'm going to reconfigure it so that I got the wire come from the breaker and going into this outlet here. And this is not a grounded outlet. And you can see it's right by this sink. And this outlet here is connected to the same circuit as the living room. The wiring comes out of this light right here, this one here, and goes into that. And this is, I don't know why they did this, because this is modern Romex here, 14 gauge. Actually, I think that's 12 gauge wire there going to that. But it's coming out of this junction box here with this light, and it's on a 14 or a 15 amp circuit. This is the same circuit as the living room. And the other wires is this old crappy braided stuff and that doesn't have a ground wire in it, which eventually is going to go away. But I'm not going to mess with those right now. So what I'm going to do is pull that wire out of here and probably just replace it with a new 14 gauge wire going into here, then over to the panel. I don't think that's long enough to reach to the panel. And then this other wire coming out of there, this wire here goes to the vapor light up on the TV tower. I had pulled this in a little bit because it was all looped up around the tower outside. So eventually this is going to get tied in. I'm going to put a new circuit in for the basement lights and put all fluorescent lights in here. And eventually I'm going to tie this into that circuit. But for now, I'm going to just disconnect it and maybe put a plug on the end of this wire and plug it in when I'm done, just temporarily. So we're going to get started on this. This one that says basement east wall, number 15. It's this breaker here. And I got another breaker, 20 amp breaker here. It says laundry that I haven't figured out what it does yet. It's not the washing machine or that room that it's in. This is the washing machine breaker. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this breaker out because I don't have much space left in this panel. I'm going to take this breaker out. I'm going to move the washing machine up to this breaker that those outlets are on now, and put in another 15 amp breaker for those. So we'll get started doing that. And one more thing. Anytime you're going to work on this stuff, make sure you turn off the power. Now I'm going to turn the breaker off on those outlets right now. It's this one here. No, it's this one here. You can watch that light on that TV converter box go off. Yep, there it went off. A little bit of a delay there. So those are off. And after when I get ready to reconfigure these breakers, I'm going to shut the main breaker off in the house. So very important. You want to do that. So let's get started. And I also need to shut the power off to that outlet. And we got that light plugged in, so to be sure. And that's on this number 5. Wait a minute, no, it's yeah, I believe that's number 5. Basement light. It says dining plug, but it's the living room. I'm gonna reconfigure it already, so anyway, so we're gonna flick that one off. This one here, I believe. And it also turns off the lights in here, so now I ain't got no light. So let's get started. Except for these two over here are on a different circuit, so I have to plug in my clamp light and a couple other lights. So. Okay, everything is apart. I've got that other wire pulled out that goes to this outlet. I got this pulled out, and so we'll get ready to. I put in a couple new pigtails on this light, so we'll get that all wired back up in there. And as you can see, this is the stuff that's in most of the front part of this house, is this braided stuff here. And it's got the braided over the rubber insulation, which is really crumbly. It wasn't much to get these stripped, so this has all got to come out real soon. This wire here is a little bit more modern, but as you can see, there's no ground wire in either of these. And the ground wire that was in that other wire coming in there were just hanging in there. So we'll get these wired back up. Get the light wired back in there. I don't know if you can be able to see me or not. I'm just going to set the camera like that, because I can't see this screen on the camera. If you don't see me, I'll just edit that part out. White to white and black to black. White goes on the silver screw, black goes on the gold screw. Okay, we got that hooked up, back up. We can turn the breaker on. It's safe. That wire is completely disconnected over there, so I can turn this breaker back on and have some lights back. And there we go. Okay, I took that outlet apart, or took it out. You know, it's ungrounded outlet. And even though the wiring going in here had ground wires, and they had a wire connected to the mounting screw, and the other wire was sort of halfway touching up against the box and that light, but there's no ground hooked up to it at all. So that wire going up to my vapor light way up on the tower, TV tower, was ungrounded too. So, and this wire going up there to the this is UV resistant wire, so sunlight resistant, so I'm sure it's outdoor rated wire. This is put in back like 1974 or something like that. It's been up there all that time. as far according to the records I got in the house. I think it was sometime in the 70s anyways. So we're going to pull all this stuff out of here. You can see the corrosion that's on those outlet terminals. We'll be throwing that in the garbage. Okay, I got that other wire, 12 gauge wire pulled out. And I was hoping to be able to save this and use it for something else, but it's too nicked up from the staples, so I'm not going to be able to do that. And it's not what I expected to do in this house, to pull this newer wiring out. But I'm going to have to do that before I replace the older stuff, so I can, because some of this, like I said, some of this stuff is on the circuits that I'm going to be replacing this wire on. So, and what I'm going to do here, since I have to leave that junction box up there, I'm going to put an outlet in up there. So I got one to maybe plug in a hanging work light or something, because I plan on using this area for working on turntables and stuff, which I haven't done much of that lately. But that's the plan, is to set this up right here. I don't know if I found this under the cross space, 1962 Michigan dealer plate. So that was kind of neat. I just hung it up there. So next thing I'm gonna go ahead and put that outlet in right now before I hook up the rest of the wiring. So we'll get that done. Okay, I got my wire connected into the panel, and I decided to. It goes into this outlet. I still got to put the GFI in, and I decided I was gonna take it around that way and go down into that one and run them direct. Then got to thinking, well, then I got to take that one apart and run it through another pipe. It's not easy to get them down through them pipes. So I just decided to run it back through here, back into that junction box where the other old wire was running, which kind of pisses me off, because now I could have just reused the old wire, even though it's 12 gauge. It's okay to use 12 gauge on a 15 amp circuit, I believe. Just can't be the other way around. But that's what I did. We got that outlet in, and it's wired into the panel. I took the big breaker that the washer was on and moved it into the 20 amp that used to be on that circuit, and put this other 15 amp half breaker in. It's not a new breaker. This actually came out of my parents' house along with this one I used for the garage. And they had some reconfiguring done and had a bunch of old GE breakers they gave me. So, and I'll be putting another 15 amp one for the basement lights down here when I get ready to do that. And I went through and tightened up all the connections in here too. So I got some corrosion on this neutral bus bar here. Looks like there's been water coming in from the main line going in. Might be just coming right into dripping right in through the wire and dripping down there. It looks like it doesn't look like anything that's happened recently, but it's something that I'm hoping to, at some point, change this panel out to a 200 amp. This is a 100 amp panel. And also figured out that breaker for the laundry is for one of these. Both these are on separate circuits. One set for the sump pump, which is this, another for laundry. So we're going to change that I'm not going to do that today, but we're going to change that. Kill the daddy long legs. And we're going to change that sometime and put this on the same circuit, and it'll free up another breaker, since I'm not using this for a laundry room down here anyways. At some point, if I decide to move the laundry back down here, then I'll just probably disconnect the one upstairs and just move it down here. That dryer plug's not connected. The wire's just coiled up there, so if I ever wanted to reuse it, I got that. And so we'll get that put in and putting in it, trying to stuff that, see if I can stuff that big GFI into that old box. So, okay, it's installed. Everything's done. And everything is GFI protected on down the line. Watch that light down there. Hit the test button. And off it goes. So, everything's good with this. Except, there goes my humidifier, dang it. So, all I gotta do is clean the mess up. I'll do that later. I gotta go out and get the lawn mowed. Also, I got this wire listed on Craigslist right now. This is leftover 10-3 UF cable from the garage project. Got about 140 feet of it here. Trying to sell it. Haven't had any bites on it yet, so we'll see what happens with that. And also just wired a plug on the wire for my vapor light out there. And before any code numbers start coming at me, this is only temporary. Eventually this is going to be wired into my new basement light circuit. But this is just temporary. And at least now it's grounded. It wasn't even grounded before. Plus it's GFI protected now. So that's going to be the end of this video. I'm probably going to leave that cover off the panel for now. It's also kind of hard to work on this thing because you got the sump crop right there. So you got to kind of be careful where you put this stool that you don't step into there. So that's that thing is what you're hearing. So, you all have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.